Bandung, April 17, 1955. Budiman, a journalist, is kidnapped by the police and taken to a place near a cemetery in Bandung. He is kidnapped on the orders of Major Heru, who turns out to be his own friend. The Major asks him to go inside the building immediately because there is something very important he needs to see. Inside, Budiman finds something he has never seen before, not even in his worst nightmares. There are dozens of shrouded corpses or pokong on the floor. Dead bodies that should be stiff in their graves are bowing in the exact same direction, as if they are worshipping something in a photograph right in front of them. Looking at the evidence, it seems like these dead bodies walked to the building by themselves. Heru believes that something big and evil is happening. However, his superiors ordered him to erase all the evidence and bury the bodies again immediately. Therefore, he asks Budiman to report this incident. For their safety, Heru tells Budiman to start a new newspaper or magazine and share this information as if it is just a horror story or a conspiracy theory. Welcome back to Mystery Archive. Today, we will see how the horrors of the past finally catch up to Rini and her family in a terrifying sequel where they are trapped with hundreds of devil worshippers in an isolated apartment building. Jakarta, April 15, 1984. Rini receives news that she has been offered a college scholarship in Bandung from the factory where she works. Even so, she is still worried about leaving her brothers because of the dark events that happened to them 3 years ago. You can check that story in our previous video. Their life in the new apartment building is not too bad. Her father finally has a job. Bondi likes to explore the surrounding area with his friends, and Tony has a crush on their beautiful neighbor, Tari. That afternoon, Rini tells her family she has accepted the scholarship and must leave the next day, April 16th. Her siblings aren't happy about it after everything they've been through. But their opinions don't matter. Their father allows it. This is Rini's chance to get a better life. Elsewhere, Budiman feels trapped. For 30 years, he's tried to expose the evil hiding in the shadows. But people only see him as a conspiracy-obsessed madman. Now things get worse. His police friend Heru is reported dead in apparent suicide. But before dying, Heru leaves a box for Budiman. Inside it, there are photos connected to a cult, ancient symbols, ritual execution documents, a strange wrapped object, and photos of Heru's former subordinates. One face looks familiar to Budiman, and then photos of a building. One of them is the place Rini calls home, a place about to face a tragedy. April 16th. Everything seems normal. Children play downstairs. Residents line up for the elevator. Coins fall to the floor. Rini's father and Tony are prepared for her departure. Inside the elevator, Tony gets separated from his father while protecting Tari from a local thug who keeps harassing her. But this separation saves him. The elevator malfunctions again, this time critically. It begins to fall. At the ground floor, the doors glitch open. People escape using the stairs. Meanwhile, children go down to retrieve coins near where the elevator will land. They force open the elevator door. But it's descending rapidly. One child escapes. The others are trapped. Side, panic erupts. They try to force their way out, but fail. The elevator crashes. One child realizes what's about to happen and screams to warn the others. But they're too focused on picking up coins. The apartment complex mourns. Dozens of people die at once. Miraculously, Rini's father survives with only broken bones. Her family remains intact, while others grieve their losses. That night, a storm hits. Budiman tries to reach the apartment building before something worse happens. But no transportation is willing to go there because flooding is expected. Tony gives Tari a radio he just repaired. But when she turns it on, it emits a strange, terrifying sound. And she sees something. Rini goes to help Wisnu, a boy who lived alone with his deaf mother. Now she's dead, and he has no one. He tells Rini he once learned a secret sign language from a strange old book he found. Meanwhile, Bondi visits a friend to help with funeral arrangements. Suddenly, the power goes out. Then, a whispers comes from outside the door, even though no one is there. Tony meets a religious teacher, Undead. The Undead asks for help checking on the victims of the elevator accident. Tony can't refuse. After checking several units, the Undead grows too weak to climb higher, so he checks the lower floors. While Tony is sent upstairs with only a lighter for lighting. Bondi and his friends investigate the ground floor. They realize the blackout is caused by flooding, but something's wrong. There are no residents anywhere. They check every unit but locked. Except one. This is one bedroom unit, but the bedroom turned to an office. It's filled with files and suspicious photos. One photo reveals something disturbing. The building appears to have 14 floors. But the top floor has no windows. Yet officially, the building only has 13 floors. Even stranger. Photos taken every 29 years. Always on April 17th. Something is going to happen. Tomorrow. Or at midnight. Tony checked the accident victim alone. He experienced a horror incident that forced him to run away. But he met a thug. The person asked for Tony's help. He wanted Tony to take a fork from the next unit. Tony went in there, returned the fork, and when he was about to leave there, he accidentally dropped the table. From the table, he found a photo album whose contents were familiar to Tony, and there was also his mother's song. On the other hand, Tari continues to experience strange events. She met the Undead, chatted with him for a while. After that, she decided to pray, but she was instead terrorized by frightening events, and finally met Tony and the thug. Meanwhile, the child who survived the accident experienced terror from the ghosts of her friends. When she started to panic and get scared, she saw her mother enter the elevator. She followed her mother inside, but it wasn't her mother. And as we know, the elevator should have been gone, so... Rini came home to get her father's suitcase. Rini and her siblings didn't know what their father's job was. Her father always took his suitcase with him when he went out and locked it in the cupboard when he got home. So when her father was fast asleep, she took the suitcase. Rini and Tony's group met while looking for a safe place, and they decided to hide in the thug's house. Tony told them that all the residents of the apartment were gone, as if they had disappeared. Then he showed the album he found. There were many photos of people that Tony believed were the same people he saw in his mother's photo album. And those people had also been in this apartment. Then there was a picture of someone who looked like their mother, but was not her mother. That person was named Ramanam. Then they tried to open Dad's suitcase, trying several code combinations, and when they opened it, they smelled a pungent odor. The suitcase was filled with hundreds of human fingers. They ran away in fear. Before they left the apartment, Rini wanted to find Bondi, and eventually they split into two groups. Bondi and his friends were checking the top floor, the 13th floor. They were looking for a way to the 14th floor, because judging by the structure of the building, they were sure there should be 14 floors. They checked each apartment unit and found only one unit that was unlocked. When Bondi entered the unit, he saw someone sitting facing the wall. When he looked, it turned out that the person was Ian, his brother who had been kidnapped by the living dead. Rini and Tony met Bondi. Then they checked the unit, and they were surprised. Midnight arrived, and it was now April 17th. Rini and Tony argued over whether they should save Ian. Rini tried to speak to him using sign language, but Bondi yelled that Ian was lying. He could actually talk. Ignoring Bondi's warning, Rini took Ian with them. Tari and the thug Dino tried to get out of the apartment, but the ground floor was already flooded. Dino invited her to swim, but Tari, realizing the water was electrified, she threw a fire extinguisher. Dino insisted on going out, while Tari ultimately decided to return to meet the others. Dino finally chose to return but encountered Ramanam. He tried to touch the woman, but Dino grabbed the cloth, threw it, and it flew over his head. Tari was returning upstairs. She saw a corpse wandering around. She was also followed by the figure of Ramanam. She panicked and met the Undead. She told what happened, but the Undead didn't believe her and went to check. The Undead still hadn't returned, so Tari checked him, and it turned out that the Undead's head was broken. She ran to hide in a garbage dump that could directly fall to the floor below. She almost fell. From below suddenly, a radio turned on, and from above one of the dead came at her. She panicked, her foot slipped and caused her to free fall. When they were about to escape, Rini's group met with her father. Rini asked to be let go. Her father said that everything he did was to save his children, but they didn't believe it, and when her father saw Ian, he was scared and immediately attacked Ian. The lights went out and a voice was heard. They all panicked, separated from each other. The atmosphere became chaotic and they all fainted. When Rini woke up, she was separated from her family. She was too weak to move. They were in a tense situation. They were going to be made victims of the ritual. But Ian approached Rini. He told her to forget everything and live happily while giving her leaves to eat. Rini lost consciousness and woke up in a nice room. She continued her studies and even got a scholarship to go to the Netherlands. Then she remembered that she should have gotten a scholarship to Bandung. She realized this beautiful life was just a dream. Rini was persuaded to accept the scholarship to the Netherlands and continue her beautiful life, but she refused and woke up at the ritual site. She saw her father's hands and feet tied to a horse. Father said he loved his children, then Ian gave the signal. Next, Tony was tied up, and before the execution could be carried out, Budaman and Wisnu arrived. He shot the undead, threw iron seeds to restrain them, and Ramanam went berserk. But Budaman was ready. Ian commanded the undead with sign language, but Wisnu pushed him away and took over the command. Rini hit Ian with a stick as hard as she could. They escaped from the ritual site and left the Rusang using a rubber boat. Rini asked how Wisnu knew their sign language. Wisnu said that Rini's younger sibling's name was mentioned in the old book. Budaman apologized for always being late. He explained that Rini's father used to be a police officer. In 1955, he discovered a Ramanam cult. He invited his wife to join him in an alliance to have children and become famous. He then tried to cancel the agreement, but the conditions were harsh. He had to kill 1,000 people, which is why he became Petrus' executioner. But this problem wasn't limited to their family. There was a bigger and more sinister plan, which will be told in another story. Thank you for watching this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And as a reminder, this is just a recap of the film. Be sure to watch the original film for a more immersive experience.